Call the meeting to order. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
One clarification, I just want to add in the minutes, sorry, I forgot the heading. It says September. It's not September, it's November. That was my mistake. That's the only change.
There's also the day of the meeting today on the agenda. Should it be the 21st of January?
Absolutely, very true. Yep, I'll clean that up too.
Okay.
Okay, are any members of the public participating?
No, there's nobody in the public and I don't see anybody on the,
Then we can move on to the approval of the minutes for November 18th, which are, as Nish indicated, mislabeled September 30th. Do we have any other corrections to those minutes?
It does look like somebody's in the lobby waiting.
I just admitted that person, and Gina Owens, I just admitted that and just saw that.
The other thing I've noticed on the agenda is the township seems to kind of shift around. I'm not sure what the right ones are at this point, but for example, it has be at large. I think in the past it's had me as Chapel Hill. I don't think it's a huge thing, but I think we really be consistent on what we're using.
We'll clarify that going forward and make sure that's up to date.
Yeah, that does need to be clear because the county clerks in the last couple of years gotten really into tying terms to particular seats. And if a seat gets filled a year into its term, then they only fill it for 2 years instead of 3.
Right, and our clerk's office has got very aware of the attendance and stuff, so we're keeping track of all that. So we're also required to do it for compliance, so we'll be making sure we improve that process.
Great. If we have no further corrections or comments, do we have a motion to approve?
I do have one comment, especially in light of what Nish just said about keeping up with attendance. Would it be possible to list the people who are absent as well? Because I really am not quite clear on who all is on this board, and it might help me too.
We can do that. We can say like in the minutes, like in the list of people and stuff like that. On the other side, absent or present and absent, we can add another column in there that these people are present, these people are absent. Whoever isn't there, we can do that. We can clarify adding a column to that list.
That'd be great. Thanks.
This is a very small question, but is Michael Hughes's name spelled Micheal? Because I notice it's spelled like that all the way around, and usually it's not spelled like that.
Yeah, he asked for the spelling to be corrected at a past meeting.
I thought we were correct. I thought we did correct it, but
It's not in the minutes where you did them.
oh, okay.
Okay, I just didn't know if he just had a different spelling of his name, that's all.
Well, it's spelled 2 different ways. If you look at the attendance versus later on, he was the person who seconded the minutes, and it's spelled differently there.
Yeah, I pulled up his email. He spells it AEL.
Okay, so my suggestion is for the minutes, there are several places in the minutes where his name is misspelled.
I will clarify that. Michael.
Yeah. Sorry, small things.
Any further corrections or comments? If not, I'd like a motion to approve.
With that correction for the spelling, I move to approve the minutes.
Thanks, Heidi. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Sherry.
Yeah.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. That moves us on to our regular agenda, starting with the 24 annual report and 25 work plan. Take it away, Nish.
Sherry, Emily, can you let me share my screen and I'll just track the agenda stuff because in case I have any corrections to this, I want to be sure I address these corrections. Let me open up my packet.
will note that Michael Hughes's last name is misspelled in the work plan.
Yeah, I'll correct that. I just noticed that just as I was putting it up. In front of you is the annual report and work plan. This is the corrected version versus the one that I showed you last time. I went back and made a list of all the updates and corrections that we accomplished, that y'all have accomplished this past year, and what are your board and commission most important accomplishments. These are the lists that I have compiled from all the presentations, meetings, things that y'all have taken that have gone to the Board of County Commissioners and been approved, at least for the last calendar year, since January through December. Expanding our service area for 10 miles around the county, getting a youth delegate on board, the multiple plans that we got adopted this past year, kicking off the bike ped plan update, starting the Orange Grove Road Design Engineering. We have a municipal agreement for first time for that project, and the US 70 quarter study that was approved. And I cannot think of anything else that was accomplished. I'm happy to add anything more you feel you have accomplished this year to add to that list. If you know of it, if you can think of any, that's a list that I have.
I don't have anything to add to the list, but I think the list should be consistently in past tense rather than mix in present and past.
Yeah, this was based on the template that I was given by the clerk. The clerk, these are the formats. I mean, I'll go back and put in past tense.
I mean, like, you know, recommended VOCC, but then number 7 is in past tense.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Recommended. Yeah, I think it should all be like recommended, initiated.
Yeah, I'll make those corrections. Thank you. So corrections to 3, 4, 5, and 6. The next list from 1 through 8 is the regular list that we go through every year as projects and plans and programs come up, trying to make it as ambiguous and comprehensive as possible, because we may not know what's going to come up. We just want to anticipate and be able to address those things that do come up. The STIP process, the spot process, we're about to start 8, and draft STIP is coming out, and anything that come up that y'all want to add, I'll try to keep it as uniform as possible. It's the same language that was used last year's report. The others are the priorities that were already part of county priorities. These are the same as the last year's report. And relationship to other county boards and is upon request, we provide transportation advice to other advisory boards. Sherry, you have a question?
Where you're talking about the priority 6, have we got to priority 6 yet?
Yeah.
Under describe this board commission's activities, accomplishments, if applicable, and then develop plan and tools to improve how county and citizens communicate with each other, foster two-way exchange. I think we had a little bit more conversation. I'm not quite sure how we couch this about the second bullet, having to do not just with the website, which we did get updated, and I believe you certainly, the staff certainly got it updated, which was great, but also kind of thinking about how do we reach the public about some of these plans and topics beyond the norm, kind of the normal way. And I think we had some conversations about that, particularly as we're going to move forward. And I don't want that to be lost somehow. I think maybe possibly adding a bullet that would be to begin to assess alternative or options to engage and alert the public to the different plans or something like.
How about expand outreach to the public about all public meetings issued by local, regional, state activities, as well as other relevant activities we're undertaking. And services, that ought to be in there too, because we operate a bus system.
Well, Art, I think it's not just about what you said exactly is right, but it's also looking at alternatives to what we do now. Because I don't think we reach a lot of people with just kind of the status quo
Oh, I
outreach.
agree. Yeah,
And
that's what I was trying to capture with expand.
yeah, but I mean, I hope that that's on our list of priorities going forward, because as we do these plans, I mean, that whole thing about the bus availability for anyone, and people just don't know about it. I mean, that was a really good example of how we need to get people where they get information, as opposed to kind of the traditional, more governmental outreach.
You
And
think
I
we
would
might be able to come up with a 0.7 in the very last section of concerns or emerging issues about the point you're addressing, Chair?
I have a
Yeah.
drafted one. I have a drafted number 7. I would like to read to you and let me know if you think it is appropriate for me to add to here. Expand public engagement outreach efforts for all plans, projects, programs, and update the Orange County Public Involvement Plan with best practices and lessons learned.
I mean,
Because
I
we
think
have,
that's good, and I think we need to keep that in there, but I think there's also this other getting to people. To me, what you're just saying is still more status quo, and I think we really needed to want to try to get more into, I know we're constrained by what public affairs in Orange County does, but I think we need to try to push that a little bit to try to get people more.
that was,
more-
you're absolutely right. I mean, one thing that we did was when we drafted the Orange County Public Involvement Plan, that is a department-specific public involvement plan process. It is a tool for our department to use with all our county resources, public engagement, to actually improve the public engagement process and to get more involvement through this. From that, we've learned over the past year from the Safe Ride to School plan, the short range transit plan, the transportation multimodal plan, with the media kits that we were given, how to create media kits of our own, to go out to community centers, go out to community events, and go out to farmers markets, do pop-up events, and do these things to start actually implementing that plan itself. And now that we have more steps and lessons learned from this past year, we want to be able to update that public involvement plan with actual, okay, when the plan comes, when a project comes, these are the steps we will take to improve that public engagement efforts by having learned those lessons from this past year. And we'll use that plan, update it, and to show how we will continue improving that public engagement process by specific steps and key things that we will do going forward.
Heidi?
But Nish, you just said something that's not in here, and I
That's what
think
I'm
it
saying.
should.
It's number 7. It's number 7. The number 7 I'm going to add for next year to do.
No,
for this year.
there is that, yes, but where what we have done, that bullet that you just said, all of those things, pop-up things and doing this and that, all of that is not in here, and it should be a bullet, I think.
It's number 7. That's what I will do to update that plan. What I'm saying is number 7 is expand public engagement efforts.
No, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I absolutely agree. That is not what I'm saying. I absolutely agree that's what we need to do. What I'm saying is that there are things that you have done this year to enhance the engagement, the pop-up things and the outreach. And that's not
Oh, to
reflected.
list that as an accomplishment. You mean to list that as an accomplishment? We just
Yes,
adopted the
yes.
plans to add that as an
Yes.
accomplishment that we have done those
Yes.
things. I see what you mean. Okay.
Yes,
That is something I can
absolutely.
add to numbers to that bullet. Yes, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, take credit for
So we need
that,
to
take
add
credit.
number 8.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Heidi?
I was just going to say that maybe to better, just a little wordsmithing to make it more obvious what we're trying to do. I was thinking maybe you could say expand the ways we reach the people for public engagement by referencing blah, blah, blah. The how-to
Yeah.
kit.
Expand ways we improve public engagement.
Expand the ways we reach people for public engagement.
Yes.
the key is the people. So I will put that in there.
I will improve, I will add that, I will change that to expand ways we reach people for public engagement. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I'll make those two changes and add that to the annual report.
Nish, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned in the second section on number 1, the ending of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. When does that actually expire, and how critical that is that to the programs that we're talking about here?
Last funding year is 2026. We have one more set of NOFOs to come out this year to finish that last annual work, that last budget, and then after that, 26.
Mm-hmm.
It's the new administration that has to, within the next, before that thing expires, has to pass a new bill and a new law, and we won't know. Just be mind. Please understand. This isn't unprecedented territory. Previously, when the same administration was on, the Obama administration had, because the FAST Act because the IIJ took so long, they did continuing resolutions. The continuing resolution is an annual budget for one additional year, and they did like 2 or 3 of them before the IIJA actually got passed and put into law by the current administration. And now we'll see if that will continue again. So even if it does expire, and if there is no new transportation authorization bill, they typically do continuing resolutions every year till a new bill is authorized and a new bill is signed. So I can give you more information as we learn more what's going on. Right now, I don't think there's a draft in any bill in the Congress right now for the new bill yet, at least not to my knowledge. But I'll have to look into that. We just got a new transportation secretary, so we'll see.
Patty?
Yeah, I just wondered if anybody else saw that Trump had paused. He issued an executive order yesterday pausing the disbursement of funds from the 2021 Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Oh, I did not see that. All I heard was Chapel Hill was getting more fun for the North-South BRT. If there's a pause in that, it'll be interesting.
Oops, will never retire.
Anyway,
I did not know anything
I
about
just saw
that.
that. Yeah, and somebody thinks that somebody who pays attention to this thinks that, well, the way he read it, Trump had ordered the immediate shutdown of all ongoing highway bridge projects in the U.S. and is going to stop paying states for the money they're owed once they build the bridges. So anyway,
Wow. Yeah.
we'll see where that goes, but this
Mhm.
just came out this afternoon from the League of American Bicyclists. So.
There is, yeah, that's going to be completely adjudicated because there is, yeah, but it's really too bad about that. But I'm sure the states will probably sue to stop that.
Yeah, we still got West North Carolina to deal with. I mean, the DOT still got all that going on in the West. I mean, that's still not even done yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
8 months left.
Be good to get that money up front.
Yeah. If I learn anything more, I'll keep you informed.
Okay.
And thank you, Heidi, for letting us know. So we'll keep an eye on if there's a hold on the current authorization.
Okay, do we have any other comments, corrections, additions, emendations to the annual report and work plan? If
I would
not,
need
then
a motion to approve with these 2 changes because I need to turn this in to the board this week.
okay, we need an motion with approving it with those changes.
So moved. Ms. Heidi.
Thanks, Heidi. Do we need a second?
I second.
Thanks, Gene. Okay, any further comments before we vote? Not all in favor, say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed,
Aye.
nay. And any abstentions? Motion carries. And I
Thank you
guess
very
I'll
much.
stick around on February 11th, even though I've got the second report. I'll wait till y'all come up as 5 or 6.
If you don't want to, or I'm happy to do it. I mean, it's up to you. Let me
Well,
know.
I gotta be there. I assume Michael would be giving the report. I gotta give historic preservation on the 11th.
Yeah,
I'm there
happy to do
anyway.
it. Yep. Thank you.
All right, next is the multimodal impact assessment.
This is something I have been working on since January of this year. And so last year, not January this year, we just started January of last year. With the side, we know with the county having adopted now approved a sidewalk maintenance agreement once, and now we have a municipal agreement. I'm working on trying to convert those into global agreements with DOT to make them a uniform policy that we can do to update our complete street policy and Vision Zero policy for more multimodal accommodations and addressing multimodal needs. And one thing we're doing with the planning department is trying to improve our development advisory committee reports, the DAC reports that show and address transportation in all planning reviews, all planning projects or conditional zoning, rezoning, subdivisions, and all this stuff that planning department deals with and planning department does with the development applications. One thing that is in the Unified Development Ordinance is a traffic impact assessment, the TIA. A lot of states and a lot of counties and a lot of cities all across this country are converting their TIAs into multimodal assessments. That means not when a developer comes in and wants to develop their land, wants to change their land for whatever use, and has to go through the development review process, we want to make sure that review includes all transportation issues, not just the fact that they're generating more traffic. So if they're turning their farmland into a subdivision or land into a subdivision and they're building houses, it has to have a sidewalk. It has to have bike lanes. If they're doing anything, improvements, we want to be ensure that they include all multimodal assessments and the MIAs or MAs or practice that is done across the country for this practice. Charlotte did it 2 years ago. Mecklenburg did it. There's other counties that are doing it. So we're trying to use that and improve our process by updating our Unified Development Ordinance and getting a program going to help establish that anytime a developer comes in, we as staff will provide a detailed multimodal assessment review process of their application. That staff review of that multimodal assessment based on a technical perspective, the technical data and the information, field surveys, aerial visits, traffic counts, and all this stuff that goes into an assessment, a multimodal assessment, that we would charge a fee for that assessment, provide and include into that new DAC report, that DAC process that we go through. And in your packet is a example of an updated draft memo. Did I include it in here? No, I don't have the memo in here. I need to get the memo in here. Let me update the material and show you the new template of the memo in here. Let me stop sharing and happy to answer any questions, concerns right now and try to find the new DAC memo. I'll update this packet to include that as I present it to you right now. It'll be in front of your screen and it'll be in the meeting as I show. So it'll just give me a minute.
Yes, Amy?
Nish, I have a question about, and thank you for clarifying that it's before anything is approved that they're the review process that they're paying for. How many reviews historically are done every year?
Okay, let me try to break down some general numbers, and I don't have the full exact numbers with me. We go through 2 DAC reviews a month, I think, 2 DAC meetings a month, and they can have between 1 to 5 different applications for each meeting. So we go through a lot. Some of them may not be substantial. Some of them are like I'm adding a shed or I'm turning my house into a business or something like that, that may not be substantial multimodal, but others may be. So I can't give you a full count. I'm still going over the numbers of all the stuff that we do to do that, but
I guess I'm just wondering what the revenue would look like from this if you're talking about maybe 10 assessments a month.
yeah.
I guess it would be helpful for me just to have some estimates of what we were looking at.
It's like 5 to 10 a month is a general range that we go through in DAC reviews.
Just to follow on that, is there comparability with these numbers, these charges to what's going on in Charlotte, or where did the numbers come from?
The original numbers that I came up with was simply that it was done in Durham. The numbers that I came up with are tentative numbers that are comparable to what was similarly done in Durham, and the thresholds that they use. Ours are more conservative. I mean, when I was doing some research, we don't want them to pay a lot. Because it may scare away, discourage development. If we charge too high, it will discourage development. If we charge too low, it may seem like they're getting a small cookie cutter assessment. So finding a range average. I haven't done a detailed review of other counties and other cities and other places. It's just mainly our neighbor that I've done it with.
It just seems the site review number is pretty low to me, that's all.
Right.
And it's because I was used to a much bigger county, but it just seems like, I mean, I don't know what hourly rates are here, but a site review would probably take, you know, if you're doing on-site, or if you're doing, looking at just blueprints or whatever you're looking at, plans, that seems like it's a little low, but that's just a thought, just a comment.
I think Durham uses like 400 or 800. I was being a conservative number, and I didn't know if I was being too cheap or anything like that. It might be too low. Like I said, I haven't done a detailed comparison. This is several months of just doing some initial research and trying to find a way to do this. I mean, please understand, part of my initial research was me being tasked with. I mean, our legal department reviewed this and checked this out. And first thing is, do you have legislative authority? I'm like, do I need to go to General Assembly and get legislative authority to do an assessment that I'm already doing? I just can't call it impact. I just cannot do a fee for assessing the impact of it and asking them to build construction. As long as I embed it into the UDO for an assessment fees or stormwater stuff, and I can work with DOT to have a global policy, like a complete street policy, Vision Zero policy, with agreements with DOT to do this kind of work, then yes, I can do it through the UDO and development review process. I just cannot charge for construction. I can't impose construction fees or impact fees like we can't do impact fees for schools anymore or anything like that. Those impact fees have become challenging stuff. But assessment and reviews like stormwater and solid waste is done as long as I can work with DOT, which is what I'm working on right now, to getting global agreements, converting our maintenance agreements and municipal agreements into global agreements so that anytime we do have a sidewalk design or engineering or stuff like that, we can use a fee collected to do the engineering work for that kind of projects.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, I think $100 is too low. That's all.
Thank you so much for that input. I will definitely be researching other places and see what are some comparable to our counties and trying to find ways we can do this and try to find what is a realistic number. I mean, that's one of the things my finance department has also told us. Are we going to get bang for the buck for doing this kind of thing? I mean, the TIAs themselves currently, an applicant has to hire an engineering firm to do a TIA, and we and DOT have to review something that they paid for an outside firm to do. Rather than paying an outside firm, they're going to pay us to do an assessment similar to what is in front of you. And if we can find a comparable, and you're right, I need to find research other places and see how is a comparable, reasonable fee to get bang for the buck.
Amy, then Heidi.
Yeah, I agree with Sherry that might be low, but I don't know any comparables, so I don't have any basis for that. But in addition to that, I do agree that, and I guess it just depends on if you're already doing it and we're talking about adding a fee, or if this is additional work, because the return on investment, if you're going to end up needing to hire an additional person or outsource or something to be able to do these, and that we're not, paying more for doing them than actually receiving any benefit from that, I think that's certainly things we should be thinking about. But then the last thing is, I've tried my best to figure out what this means, but I apologize if I should know this for as long as I've been on the board, but under the assessment, what is less than 80 DUs per 800 trips or greater than 80? I had no idea what that means.
Dwelling 80 units, dwelling units and 800 trips. There's two different things. There's residential and commercial trip generation. A residential subdivision, if you're building 80 houses, if you're building 40 houses, you're basically, or 40 dwelling units, you're basically generating 80 cars in that subdivision, 2 cars per household. If your subdivision is building 80 dwelling units, you're generating 160 cars or 2 cars per household on that subdivision and increasing that traffic. Right now, that is a threshold the county currently uses in its UDO for subdivisions, 80 dwelling units. If you're building 80 dwelling unit subdivision, you had to do a TIA, a traffic impact analysis. If you're building a store, shopping center, or any commercial development, the Institute of Transportation Research, the ITE, trip generation says that if you're every commercial, like a Starbucks, it has a trip generation. It creates so much traffic, and that is mathematically calculated by the trip generation model. And a developer puts in 100 so many square foot Starbucks. Here's how many cars and traffic you're going to generate from that development. If your commercial development generates 800 cars or 800 trips, you had to do a full traffic impact analysis by an engineering firm. Right now, that is within our current UDO. Those are the thresholds that are in our current UDO. Other counties, other cities, and other places use different thresholds. Some use 1,000. The state standard is 1,000 trip for commercial and 100 trips for subdivisions or something like that. They're a little higher, as long as local jurisdictions are more restrictive, as in tighter thresholds. Like we can go down to 800, 600. Or can be more restrictive than the states. We just can't say 2,000 trip more than what the state is saying. We can't be more loose, so we had to be more restricted. That's why ours is 880 versus 100 and 1,000 at DOT.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate it.
Heidi?
Yeah, I'm not sure where this would show up, but I'm looking at performance measures, and like I said, I don't know where this would show up, but where do you capture possible transit access, and how do you evaluate parking spaces? Are you updating parking requirements at all?
That's a plan. The planning does update parking. Planning does do some various studies with parking and stuff like that. Right now, we're going through the comprehensive land use plan update, the 2055 or 2050 land use plan update. That's going to be looking into all that review of parking and other things that are in the land use plan. In front of you that you see in front of you, and I'll add this to the packet. I thought it was in there, but I'm sorry for having missed it. But this is the assessment that we currently do assessments. We do a DAC report right now. Every development review, we go through a DAC meeting, we provide a report, but that DAC report right now is simply our local plans and not really a full detailed assessment of these things. So we're trying to improve that process. So most of this stuff is they basically pulled out of GIS data, like functional class, ADT, crashes, level of service. All this is basically pulled. The site visit, site assessment, aerial photography, Google Earth, and all this can be done for the site review, immediate site, surrounding site, facilities, local plans that you see in the plans, providing a footnote, a comment about how that development relates to that area, relates to the plans, projects, and programs that we currently have in that area, to provide feedback to the developer, the applicant. Hey, your development is associated with these things, and these are the things that are saying about your development and how we need to address multi-mobility in that area. Residential and non-residential has other factors like climate change. County has a climate action plan, a strategic plan. We have performance measures. As you noticed, as you saw the transition multimodal plan, it is now performance-based. It has performance metrics. It has data-driven process. So you can track some of this data and provide this data through GIS, and showing how that development review, that development process, and its multi-mobility component has performance measures based on our new transition multimodal plan for both highway and non-highway that are in there. Goals and objectives from locally adopted plans or other plans, or regional plans, to provide feedback on how that development review, that development application associates with these plans that are in place. Safety improvements are complete street policy, Vision Zero policy, and how their development relates to the adopted policies that we have in place. And like you were saying earlier, Heidi, about the assessments, there's various data-driven processes, crashes, safety is a big number priority because our Vision Zero policy. And the transportation multimodal plan also addresses some of this stuff and some of these measures and metrics. Well, that development that's going on, that development review that's happening, well, these are the crashes and the reports of accidents that are going on in that area. Well, if your development is going to cause more traffic, pedestrian traffic or whatever, be sure you can able to address the impacts that is going to have in that addressing safety through that area. Accessibility, like you were saying earlier, accessibility and equity. Accessibility is based on modes. What are the modes that a person is using, and how is it equitable that if you're developing and reviewing, be sure that you're accommodating all modes that are going through your development area, because freight is going through everywhere in this. Every road is freight, every road is transit, every road has commuter bicyclists, there are recreation bicyclists, there's vehicles going through here. Is your development going to have, is it part of the first mile, last mile within a bus stop, transit access? How is it going to be accommodating and ensuring that economic generation, access to jobs? Are you creating more jobs, or are you close to a job area and stuff like that? And based on those full detailed assessment and analysis, here are the recommendations that developer will have to do to ensure multi-mobility as part of that assessment. As part of and if you look into your document itself in the attachment that I gave you, you will see 4 different resources. And the document has links to those 4 resources. The DEI best practice for universal design, complete streets best policy and implementation practices, the evaluation of complete street projects, and Charlotte's UDO multimodal assessment is also here. That's where I pull some of this assessment analysis that is done. These are the assessments analysis that are done by counties, city staff, and everybody as development review goes through. And we want to be able to provide great quality customer service in their DAC reports and DAC processes to show that, hey, that development does include all addressing multimodal. If they're doing a shed, this is going to be an empty document. It's just simply going to say, hey, these are the projects in your area. You're doing a shed. Well, we can't really ask them to do anything because they're just building a shed or something like that. But if they're tearing their house into a business, or they're generating traffic in that business, or they're taking land and building a bunch of subdivisions, we want to be sure that our UDO is strong enough to make sure that we can request for improvements to address all these issues they identified through that assessment.
But did I understand you saying that the UDO isn't going to be changed for 30 years? Is that what you were saying?
No, what I'm saying is UDO is ours. UDO is county to control. County changes and updates that. While the county is going through their land use plan update, we're trying to make sure we can update the UDO to include this. Right now, I've been working on this for almost a year now and trying to improve. Okay, what are the next steps I need to do to get it into the UDO and update the UDO with the planning department in coordination to strengthen and improve this. Right now, I have a path forward to change the TIA, the traffic impact assessment practices, to a multimodal impact assessment practices to change that UDO. Right now, I still need more research and more support, and to show these are the specific things we need to do to improve. I have a template for a new DAC memo. Here's the outcome of the result. I just need that other step of updating the UDO to show here's the service we will be providing. We want to collect the fee for that service, and the UDO gives us the ability and authority to do that.
I think you need to get that into a new first paragraph. The current first paragraph really confuses me. What you just said is what you're trying to do. And I think that's what the lead paragraph needs to express. That you're
I will
going
rewatch what I just
drive
said to this
UDO.
video, and I will rewrite it. I think I explained it better here, and now I need to put it into words and write it down and redo that memo.
I understand.
Well, fortunately, this is being recorded, so.
Yeah. And then please understand, this is going to be an ongoing process. So if y'all have suggestions, if y'all have ways that I can improve this practice, because like I said, I'm using state and national and thorough research through what is already in place. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm just trying to make sure that wheel is Orange County context specific, that it applies to Orange County and its places, using those best practices that are already out there implemented.
And as he said, this is an ongoing process, so we don't have to take any action. This is just us to make comments as he develops it. Amy?
Yeah, I have a question about where it says periodically funds collected through the MIA will go to this single non-departmental capital improvement program fund. And then
Yes.
later it talks about periodical as quarterly or annually the funds would go into this. So I guess I'm confused. Is it all of the funds? Because it's to me, when I hear periodically funds collected will go through it, it means that the rest of the time it's going somewhere else.
No,
So I
you're
guess
right.
I'm
That's a rephrasing. Periodic is the wrong word to use.
okay. So all funds will be going into the MIMP.
Right.
Okay.
Part of my research includes where, I mean, some towns have faced this issue. If you collect a fee from a developer, there are certain stipulations within town areas that that the fee collected from a developer can only be used for that area.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to make sure our fee collection, and if it's in the general fund, in the general CIP, that even if we collect it for one area, we can apply it to other areas.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the reasons why I need a global agreements, that even if I get a development, say for Efland area, some area in Efland is developing, well, I don't see that development occurring for another 5 years or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I want to be able to still use that fee fund for another area that actually have something that I can progress with and promote and move because of a global agreement that I have that it's in the CIP in the general
Mhm.
fund rather than that one specific area. I think some places
Yep.
tie their collection to that area. I just want to make sure through my research, legal and financial reviews and stuff like that, as I develop something that, okay, if I collect a fee in if a fee is collected in one area, that we can apply it in another area, or or
Yep.
are we bound to that same area?
And that kind of further expands my question too, because what I'm curious about, and I agree with all of the things that it would be used to support, but my question becomes, how does that end up being prioritized? So all of those things would need funding, but how do we determine where those, like, let's just say a random number. You have $100,000 in the bucket. How do you determine where to put that money for these items in the bullet list?
Or well, this assessment is more of the assessment for the developer and the developer review. And if the developer would take on some of the responsibility, great, the developer would take some of that responsibility through the requests that we make for them in the recommendation section. But if the developer does not make it and we do add it to a project for a project that we need to
Mhm.
pursue, or if it's a project that is already identified, please understand the transportation multimodal plan includes a prioritization process, includes a unique prioritization way of measuring what is a priority and how to prioritize things. We can use that ourselves and apply it ourselves to that if a new project does develop, that we
Mhm.
can apply that prioritization process and see where that project ranks, or new project that ranks to what is already prioritized in that plan itself. So say hypothetically speaking, the Lawrence Road another school comes up or another private school comes up and wants to develop and grow in some area in rural Orange County. Well, they're going to have new projects. It's going to have a TIA or an MIA, and it's going to
Mhm.
identify new road improvements. Well,
Mhm.
those road improvements are not even identified in the transportation multimodal plan because it's a
Mhm.
new development, right?
Mhm.
But those projects that are identified through this assessment process, we can apply that new prioritization methodology that's in the transportation multimodal plan to new projects that are identified and see where that project ranks ourselves. I hope that helps you understand, helps you answer the question that we can apply that new prioritization process to the transportation multimodal plan for current projects and new projects that are identified.
Mhm. I think maybe I apologize. I think I'm still a little confused about. I understand what you're saying, but I think I'm still confused about applying like the money that's in the MIMP.
Those that are the projects that are high in the list, that are high already or now, that money would be used to fund and implement those projects. There are other bike ped projects. We will be identifying more bike ped projects in the bike ped plan that comes up and done. So as funds do get collected, as funds do grow, and this does get implemented, and we are able to collect sufficient amount, like $100,000. Well, if that $100,000 can be used as a local match for a full bigger project that's in that priority list, that prioritized list, we would like to get those projects actually implemented. I mean, we had a meeting with DOT today on a quarterly meeting or quarterly luncheon today to go over some of that stuff. And Chuck is saying, if you have money you could support locally, it would help us do administrative projects even better, like the spot safety projects, spot mobility projects, highway improvement maintenance projects. If we provide some local match, even 50,000 or something like that to help support that administrative projects. I mean, DOT is willing to help us support us doing those administrative projects, so we don't have to even go through the spot process.
Okay,
So
that
if
what
we
you
ha-
just said there was very helpful for me to understand. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? We'll be seeing this document again. All right.
About the pricing,
Yes,
so would be interesting also to know what's the average cost for a TIA, a comparable TIA.
that's a very complicated question because it's a scale of the development that determines the price of a TIA. The Lawrence Road subdivision, the Lawrence Road Charter School that went up and doing a TIA for that is different from the Research Triangle Logistics Park that's got a hotel, shopping center, and all this other stuff. There's two different scales. Same firm may be doing the same projects, like Kimley Horner, Stantec, or India firms can be doing those same things, but they're going to charge more for a bigger development than a small. How to get a full range of that? I don't know if private sector would share that proprietary information of how they charge their rates. I mean, one engineering firm may charge a different rate than another, and it's a competitive market. I mean, it's going to be really challenging to find what is a adjustable fee to collect for our staff to do a review like this. So I will continue researching that and trying to find some, because we have had a lot of TIAs in our office. I've collected a lot. I mean, you've probably seen a lot of development approved on West 10 Road and Mebane and all this multi distribution centers that are going on. There's like 6 different TIAs that I've collected and I'm reviewing for to update the Upland Buckle Mebane Access Management Plan and stuff like that. And they're all over the place, and I don't know what they charge to complete each of those 6 or 7 TIAs. So something I'll be looking into.
We'll also look into what their costs are for doing the assessment because we don't want to lose money on it.
Yeah, I would definitely be doing that.
Any other questions or comments? All right. We'll look forward to the next iteration of that document and on the staff report and update, Nish.
I've given you all a lot. I've taken a lot of your time and giving you updates on this. Thank you so much for the feedback and update. In your packet is a list of all the projects that DOT is currently working on, implementing. The I-40 widening is scheduled for completion by 2026, I think. I've heard that number change from 27 to 26 to 27 to 26. And don't know when and whenever they complete that. I think right now the priority is still West North Carolina. We should be seeing a STIP coming out next month. We thought we would see this draft STIP come out this month. I was told it may not, the new draft STIP may not be coming out till next month. And please understand, I might have to start the Spot 8 process a couple months after that. So before the end of the summer, before the start of the summer, you'll probably see Spot 8 process start. So
I would just say that based on the question by one of the colleagues here, and then I just saw briefly some link that I sent to everybody about the Halton funding for a lot of the highway and bridge stuff. It'll be interesting to see what happens, and that would affect all of these projects, I assume, depending on how they were funded and when they were funded. So just FYI, I'm just saying it might be, those numbers might change again.
oh
Sherry,
yeah.
How
Yeah.
did you send it?
I just sent it back to everybody on the email for this
Oh,
meeting.
okay.
Oh, on the
Right.
email. Okay, you have it on the email. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's still unclear, but I can't believe most of these projects are in Republican states. And so it's really going to be an interesting push-pull on this stuff. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff not being thought through. Heidi?
Yeah, I just had one quick question. For some reason, my physical documents for tonight did not include the projects in Division 7, but they're
Oh, I'm
online,
sorry.
so I'm looking at them. And I
Oh.
just wondered if there was any update on the SS 6207A, the pedestrian improvements between Manning Drive and Old Fayetteville Road and Chapel Hill. It says they were supposed to be completed 10/31/24. Do you know if the planning and design have finished? It says work has begun, but I'm not sure if that 10/31/24 date is supposed to be, they're supposed to be finished by now, or what's
I
going
will
on?
have to go back and look into that and ask them. I will flag that and ask them about it because there's been no update on progress on that one.
Okay.
Any other questions about these?
No.
You have anything else for us, Nish?
Not at this time.
Okay, and we discussed the date of the next meeting. Sherry questioned that. So the next meeting will be on February.
February 17th.
I probably won't be able to attend because I will be in Brazil, but I'll try. But if I don't, that's why.
Yeah, understood. If you learn anything great there, please let us know. And
It's not a lot better, no.
I'll be in Montreal, so I won't be able to hear the 17th either.
all right. Thank you.
These hour-and-a-half meetings aren't long enough, so I've gone to a 5-day one.
Oh, wow. Well, I just got back from a 5-day one.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn until February 17th.
So moved. I'll
Thanks,
second it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, everyone.
See you in March.
Have a good night.
Night.
I